Hello everybody. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this weird hairy teeth material. In my last video I showed you how to take an object from your house and scan it into your computer and use that and turn it into a height map that you can then use in a material. So today I'm going to show you how to take that height map and then apply it to an actual material using the teeth generator that I made in the last video. And if you'd like, I'll leave a link down below so that you can watch that video if you want to follow along and make one. But I'll also leave a link below where you can download this generator for free. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and I'm going to open up a new package. And I'm going to open up a substance graph. And so I'm going to choose metallic roughness. And I'm going to call this teeth hair, oops, put some underscores there, teeth, hair, tutorial. Okay. There we go. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to open up my teeth generator. Okay, so here is the system that I set up. So I'm going to go back into my my hair tutorial that I just, the package that I just started. And I'm just going to grab the teeth generator and I'm just going to drag and drop it into this project. Okay, so there it is. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to want to grab a few transform 2D nodes. So since I have 4 teeth here, I'm going to grab 4 transform 2Ds. And I'm just going to plug each of these outputs into one of these. And I have this slider here that I set up last time for me to be able to switch from like more of like an AO to a more of like a something that would be more useful for a height map. I'm going to keep it turned up to 1. So for each of these, I'm just going to double click on the transformation 2D, and basically I just want to get each of these teeth or these sets of molars. I want them all to be centered and I want them all to kind of be facing in the same direction. So with this one here, I'm just going to, for my rotation, I'm going to hit 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then I'm going to push the offset so that it's, you know, more or less pretty centered, like that. And then I'm just going to rotate it around a little bit, and just pull it to where I feel like the center is. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing for each of them. So, and because I have the teeth in this one kind of pointing, I have the molars kind of pointing to the right, I'm going to want to kind of keep that for each of these sets here. So for the second set, I'm just going to go, again 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then I'm going to just pull the offset over. So a little bit to the right, and then just a little bit down. And then I'm just going to rotate it just a tiny bit. I'm going to pull it up just a little bit more. Okay. So next one, do the same thing. So 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then this one I'm going to want to hit horizontal mirror. Yeah. And just pull it over. Rotate. Yeah, that looks about right. And then the last one. So 90 degrees counterclockwise. Lift that up a bit. Rotate it. and just pull it to the center. Perfect. So now I'm also going to want to grab a tile sampler. So I'll type that in the side. Tile sampler. Here we are. Drag that in, and then I'm going to, for my pattern, I'm going to set it to pattern input and pattern input number. So I have four of these sets of teeth, so I'm going to raise that number up to 4. And then I'm just going to plug each one in. There we go. And it's a lot of teeth. So I'm just going to set the number to, like, you know, maybe like 4 and 4 just for now. There we go. And I have a lot of setup that I need to do before I can like really properly apply these to my material, because I'm going to have some layers. I'm going to have like a base layer of hair, and then I'm going to have a top layer of hair, and then I'm also going to have some gums, and I'm going to have to kind of like arrange it, you know, however way I think like looks best. But I can't really do that until I have like the rest of the elements of the material kind of in the project. So for now, I'm just going to leave this like the way it is. Like if I want, I can turn like maybe the scale up just a little bit, just so I can kind of see how the teeth are looking. But once I have everything set up, then I'm going to be able to come back to this, and I'm going to actually be able to like, you know, arrange it and compose it in a way that I think, you know, looks how I want it to look. So I'm just going to highlight these and pull them back. And so for the next one, I'm going to start making my base hair. So I'm going to do that by, in the side here, typing in fur, and I'm going to use this fur 2. And then I'm going to grab a transform 2D and plug that in. And then I'm just going to hit 90 degrees clockwise, like that. I'm going to want to also grab a levels node and plug that in. And on the side here, I'm going to just grab this little white arrow here, and I'm going to pull it to about maybe roughly around halfway-ish. And then I'm going to grab this other white arrow here, and I'm going to pull it to around halfway-ish, just a little over, just a little over halfway. And I think I'm going to grab this gray mid-tones, and I'm just going to pull it a little bit to the left as well. So, like that. So for the next one, I'm going to type in the side, I'm going to grab a Blur HQ Grayscale. Go and plug the levels into that. Over here in the instance parameters, I'm going to set the intensity. I'm going to set that, sorry, I'm going to set that to about 0.23. And the quality, I'm going to turn that up to 1. Then I'm going to grab a creased. Oops, creased. Here we are. And on the side here, I'm going to turn the scale up to, oh no, I'm going to leave it at 1. And then I'm going to set the disorder to 0.7. And then the warp intensity, I'm going to turn down to 0. There we go. So for the next node, I'm going to grab a transform 2D. I'll plug the crease in there. And then I'm just going to hit the horizontal mirror, just to flip it like in the other direction. And then the next, for the next one, I'm going to grab a Blur HQ Grayscale. And I'm going to set the intensity here in the instance parameters. I'm going to set it to 6.5. And the quality, I'm going to turn that up to 1. Then I'm going to grab a directional blur. Just plug the blur HQ grayscale into that. And then I'm going to set the intensity to about 14.5. And the angle I want to turn over to minus 162. Okay. Then the next one I'm going to grab is a levels node. And I'm just going to plug the directional blur into the input there. And then I'm going to grab these 3 top arrows. I'm just going to pull the white one to around like a quarter or a third of the way. And then I'm going to do about the same with this black handle here. Then I'm going to grab a fibers. Fibers 2, and I'm going to set the tiling to 2. Then I'm going to grab a transform 2D, plug that in, and I'm going to rotate it about 90 degrees clockwise. Then I'm going to grab one more pattern. It's a alveolus, not sure how to say that, ALVEOLUS, alveolus. Okay, so so I'll leave that there. And then I'm going to grab a blend. And I think for this alveolus, God, I hope I'm saying that right. The tiling, I'm going to leave that at 1. I think this is all, this is all good. Alright, so for the blend, I'm going to grab, for the foreground, I'm going to grab this guy here, the alveolus, and plug that into the foreground. And then the background is going to be the transformation 2D from this fibers. And I'm going to set it to screen over here in the blending mode. And then I'm going to grab another blend node. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in this blend that we just made here. And the background, I'm going to plug in this levels up here. And for the blending mode, I'm going to set that to subtract. And then I'm going to set the opacity down to about 0.25. There we go. Then I'm going to want to grab another blend node, or sorry, levels node. And I'm going to plug the blend into the input of the levels. And I'm just going to pull this bottom. Actually, I'm going to switch these two handles here. So I'm going to take this black handle, I'm going to pull it to this side, and then the white handle, I'm going to pull all the way to the left. For the black handle, I'm going to leave it to about there. Then I'm going to grab this white handle on the top right, and I'm going to pull it to about a little over a third of the way. Yeah, like that. Then I'm going to grab a blend node. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in this levels that we just did. And the background, I'm going to plug in this blur HQ grayscale from the top here, from this fur. Oops, so take that, plug that into the background. And I'm going to set the mode to soft light. And I'm going to set the opacity to about 0.64. Okay, so that is our, just the foundation of our hair. And yeah, basically, like, the reason why I have all these weird little patterns in here, which, you know, might be obvious to you, is to just kind of add a little bit of dimension to this hair, just so it's not just like a big flat mass. But yeah, okay. So, for the, actually no, so I'm gonna grab I'm just gonna kind of select all of these, and I'm gonna go add frame, and I'm gonna call this base hair. Okay. And actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and save this project. So I'm gonna go save. And actually, I'm just gonna, might as well take a frame and do the same thing here. So I'm just gonna call this teeth. There we go. From here, I think I'm gonna want to label some of these nodes, just because I'm gonna be coming back and I'm gonna be using them in different parts of the material, and having them all, like, having 1 levels, 2 levels, like, just having them all named the same thing, I feel like is going to get really confusing. So just for the sake of, like, you know, trying to avoid as much confusion as possible, I'm just going to go through these, and I'm going to give them little labels so that as I come back and use them, it'll be easier, I guess, for you to follow, and just, like, avoid mistakes. So for this first levels here, or actually here, I'll start with the transform. So I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to hit add comment. And then right here, I'm going to call this 2D1. Okay, so then I can just grab my little like comment and just bring it to the top there. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, so now we're gonna get started on the, we're gonna create like a warp for this hair here. It's gonna warp around like the teeth so that the hair, the base hair, like isn't just like flowing through it. And then once we have this set up, we can like, it'll be set up in a way so that like however we arrange our teeth, or however we decide to like compose our like, you know, end composition ends up being, the hair will just kind of like warp around it, so we won't have to like go back and like readjust it. So for the first node for that is going to be an edge detect. So edge detect, and the input is going to be our tile sampler, and we're going to set that to so our width we're going to set to 1. Our roundness is going to be 1.69. For our invert, we're going to set it to true, so we're going to invert the colors. And our tolerance, we're going to keep at 0. Then we're going to grab a bevel. And plug that in. And we're going to set the distance. oops, we're going to set that to 0. Then for our corner type, we're going to leave that at round. Our smoothing, we're going to turn that all the way up to 5. And for the non-uniform blur, we're going to change that to false. And then the custom curve, we're going to keep that at false as well. And the normal intensity, we'll keep at 10. And, okay, cool. So the next one, we're going to grab a curve. And we're going to plug the bevel into that. Then for the curve, we're just going to double click on the side here to create like a little, you know, this little handle thing. I'm sure it has a proper name. And we're just going to turn it. Whoops. Actually, we're going to take this handle here. That. And we want a handle on this side as well. So we're just going to pull this handle down like that. This one, you just pull both of those handles in. Then we're going to double click on it again. And we're going to pull it so that it's parallel to, you know, this little square above it. And then we're just going to pull this handle, and then we're going to kind of give it like a curve like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. That looks right. Then, now we're going to grab a levels. And for the input, we're going to plug our curve in. And we're going to, we're just going to grab this little mid-tone gray arrow, and we're just going to pull it a little bit to the left. Like that. Maybe even a little less. There we go. So it should kind of have like this, like, kind of halo glow with still kind of like a defined edge. Then, after the levels, we're going to grab a blur HQ grayscale. Drag that in. And we're going to plug the levels into the input. And for this one, we're going to set the intensity to 5.8. So I'm just going to type that in. And the quality, I'm going to turn that all the way up to 1. Then I'm going to grab a multi-directional where'd you go? Oh yeah, okay, so multi-directional warp. There we go. And then we are going to plug in for the input. It's going to be this blend 3 from our base hair. So I'm just going to grab that and plug that into the input. And then for the intensity, it's going to be the blur HQ grayscale that we just did. Okay, and then down here in the perimeters, underneath intensity, we're going to set that to 10.22. And then for the warp angle, for the degrees, I'm going to set it to -625. And then for the mode, I'm going to set it to min. And for directions, I'm going to change it to 1. Now we're going to grab a non-uniform directional warp. So non-uniform, that's a blur. Yeah, non-uniform directional warp. There we go. And for the input, we're going to plug in the multi-directional warp. And then for both the intensity and the warp angle, we're going to plug in our blur HQ grayscale. So then over here in the instance parameters, we're going to set the intensity to 8.26. For the warp angle degree, we're going to set it to, down here in the degrees, we're going to set it to minus 1042. Then for the warp angle multiplier, we're going to turn this down to 0. And for the trail mode, we're going to make that min. Oops. Then for the trail length, we're going to turn that up to 1. The trail fade, we're going to turn down to 0. You can see the changes that are happening here. And then for the trail curve, we're going to turn that up to 1. Awesome. So now I'm just going to add a frame. And I'm going to call this base hair warp. Next, we're going to want to start creating the gums. So to do that, I'm first going to grab a shadows node. So shadows. And for the input, it's going to be our tile sampler here with our teeth. There we go. Then for our edge softness, we're going to set that to 0.64. And our samples, we're going to leave that at 8. Then we're going to grab a auto levels. And we're just going to plug that in. Next, we're going to grab a quantized grayscale. Plug that in. And down here for our quantize, we're going to set that to 446. Then we're going to grab a edge detect and plug that in. And for the edge width, we're going to set that to 3.72. Then for the roundness, going to set that to 3.13. Then invert, we're going to leave it false, and tolerance, we're going to leave it 0. Then we're going to grab a bevel. There we go. And we're going to plug the edge detect. And we're going to set the distance to 0.2. Then we're going to set the corner type to round, or leave it at round. Then the smoothing, we're going to leave at 0. Our non-uniform blur, we're going to leave that at true. Custom curve is going to stay at false. Normal intensity is going to stay at 10. Yeah, and then that's it. And then we're going to grab a slope blur grayscale. Slope blur grayscale, there we go. Then we're just going to plug the height from the bevel into the grayscale, and the slope is going to be this blur HQ grayscale from our base hair warp. So grab that and just plug that into the slope. Then we're going to set the samples. We're just going to set that down to 7. The intensity, we're going to bring that down to 3. And mode, we're going to leave it blur. Now we're going to grab a blend node. And I'm just going to right click here and I'm going to go add comment. I'm going to call this blend 1. There we go. And so for the foreground, I'm going to plug in, again, this Blur HQ Grayscale from the base hair warp. Then the background is going to be this Slope Blur Grayscale that we just did. And then I'm going to set the mode to Min Darken. Now I'm going to grab a Invert Grayscale. And plug that in. Or, no, actually it's going to be this bevel over here. Just going to grab the height and I'm going to plug that into the Invert Grayscale. Then I'm going to grab another blend. And again, I'm just going to right click, add comment, and I'm going to call this blend 2. There we go. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in the Invert Grayscale. And for the background, I'm going to plug in this blend 1. Then I'm going to set the mode to Min Darken, and I'm going to set the opacity to 0.8. Now, I'm going to go on the side, I'm going to search for a histogram scan. And for this one, I'm going to plug in my tile sampler. Plug that into the input. Then I'm going to set the position down here. I'm going to set it to 0.62. And then I'm going to set the contrast to 0.35. Cool. And I'm going to leave invert position at false. Now I'm going to grab another blend. Again, right click, add comment. I'm going to call this, whoops, gotta highlight it, BLND, blend 3. So then for the foreground, I'm going to plug in the histogram scan. And the background is going to be our blend 1. Let's plug that in. Pull that back a little bit. I'm going to start running out of space soon. Now I'm going to grab a height blend. Or wait, hold on. So for this blend 3, I need to set it to add linear dodge. And then I want to set the opacity to 0.36. Now I'm going to grab a height blend, this one here, and for the height top, I'm going to again grab the tile sampler with my teeth, and I'm going to plug that into the top, and for the bottom I'm going to plug in my blend 3. And down here I'm going to leave the height offset at 5. Contrast, I'm going to turn down to, contrast I'm going to turn down to 0. And for mode, I'm going to leave it balanced, and opacity, I'm going to leave it at 1. Now I'm going to grab one more blend node, right click, add comment, blend 4. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in blend 2. And for the background, I'm going to plug in my height blend. Then over here, I'm going to set the blending mode to matte lighten. And I'm going to set the opacity to 0.25. Then I'm just going to highlight all of these, right click, add frame, And I'm going to call this gums. Now we're going to have to start blending all of this together. So to do that, I'm going to grab a edge detect. And actually maybe I will blend these, bring that down, and I'll have my blending section in between these two here. So I'm going to, for my edge detect, I'm going to plug in my, my tile sampler with my teeth. Put that in the input there. And for my edge width, again, I'm going to turn this to 1. For the roundness, I'm going to set this to 5.45. For invert, I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit true, or hit false, so it is now true. And my tolerance, I'm going to leave it at 0. Now I'm going to grab a bevel. And I'm just going to plug the edge detect into the input. And I'm going to set the distance to 0. Then I'm going to set the corner, or leave the corner type at round. Smoothing, I'm going to turn up to 5. Use non-uniform blur, I'm going to make that false. And then normal intensity, I'll leave it 10. Now I'm going to grab a levels. And I'm just going to plug the bevel height into the input. And I'm going to right click it, add comment. I'm going to call this levels 1. Now I'm going to grab a blend and right click it, add comment, and we're going to call this blend 1. So for the foreground, I'm going to plug in this levels 1. And for the background, I'm going to plug in this, from the base hair warp, I'm going to plug in the non-uniform directional warp. So this last one here. And put that into the background. Then for the mode, I'm going to turn that to max lighten. And the opacity, I'm going to leave it 1. Then I'm going to grab an invert grayscale. And I'm just going to plug the blend into that. And because I'm going to have more than one invert grayscale here, I'm going to add comment. Oops. And I'm just going to call this IG1. Or no, whoops, my bad. I'm going to be plugging the levels 1 into the input. There we go. Now I'm going to grab another levels. And I'm just going to right click it. And I'm going to go add comment. And I'm going to call this lev 2. And then the input is going to be the invert grayscale. And then over here in the side, I'm just going to take this little gray mid-tone arrow and I'm just going to turn it, pull a little bit to the right. Oh, whoops. And this first level's here. I don't think I did anything to it. So I'm going to grab the, I'm also going to grab this little arrow here. Mid-tone arrow, I'm going to pull a little bit to the right. So that's for levels 1. And then levels 2, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to pull it slightly, just this tiny bit more. So, yeah. Maybe even just a tiny bit more. So that should be good. So yeah, so just to recap, levels 1 is going to have its midtones pulled just slightly to the right. That's going to be plugged into the invert grayscale, which is then going to be plugged into levels 2, which is also going to have its midtone arrow pulled slightly to the right, just a little bit more than the first levels. I realize that's a little bit confusing. I'm a little bit confused. I get a little bit mixed up by it, but yeah, just to clarify. Okay. So after that, We're going to grab another blend, and I'm going to right click it and add comment, and I'm going to call this blend 2. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in this levels 2. And for the background, it's going to be, again, this non-uniform directional warp is going to go into the background. And for this blend 2 here, we're going to set this to min darken. Now we're going to grab another levels and right click it, add comment, and I'm going to call this levels 3. Lev 3. Keep it all uniform. And for the input, it's going to be this blur HQ grayscale, again from the base hair warp. So plug that in. And then again, I'm just going to grab this little gray arrow, but this time I'm just going to pull it a little bit to the left. So now I'm going to grab another invert grayscale and right click, add comment, call it IG2. And the input is going to be our levels 3. I'm going to grab another blend node and I'm going to right click it, add comment, blend 3. And for the foreground, I'm going to plug in this invert grayscale that I just did, IG2. And for the background, it's going to be this non-uniform directional warp again. And I'm going to set the mode to min darken. Now I'm going to grab another blend node, right click, add comment, blend 4. And for the foreground, I'm going to be using this first blend here that we did. And plug that in. And for the background, I'm going to use this blend 4 that I did for the gums. So that's going to be the background. And in the opacity here, I'm going to plug in blend 3. And then I'm going to set the blending mode to divide. Now I'm just going to grab one final blend, and for the foreground, I'm going to plug in blend 4, and for the background, I'm going to plug in blend 2. And I'm going to set the mode to max light. And actually, this blend 3 here, I have it set to divide. We actually want that to be min darken. There we go. So that's better. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pull these together a little bit. Select them all, right click, and add frame. And then I'm just gonna call this blending. Oh, and actually, right click, add comment, and I'm going to call this blend 5. Oops. There we go. Now we're probably going to want to start plugging this into some of our outputs here, just so we can see, like, on our in our 3D viewer how this is starting to look. So I'm just going to highlight all of these and pull them back a tiny bit, and I'm just going to plug. I'm just going to take this this blend 5 here from my blending section, And I'm just gonna plug that into the normal, like that. Then I'm gonna grab a blending node, and this is gonna be used in our AO. So let's see. So for the foreground here, I'm gonna want to plug in. I'm gonna plug in my blend 3 from my blending section. And I'm just gonna plug that into the foreground. And for the background, I'm gonna grab this blend 5. Also from like my blending area. Plug that into the background. And then for the opacity, I'm gonna plug in from this gums section here. I'm gonna grab my my height from my bevel, and I'm just gonna plug that into the opacity, and then I'm gonna set the mode to soft light. Here we go. And then I'm just gonna grab my output, and I'm gonna plug that into my ambient occlusion. And I also just realized that my blend 4 here from my blending, I still have it set to copy. So I'm going to want to set that to divide. So next we're going to start working on the top layer of hair. To do that, I'm going to use this hair generator that I have here. I'm also going to have this available for you guys to download from the link below. I learned how to make this from VIW 3D animation and game design. I'll go through it here really quickly so you can kind of just see like how it works. But if you want like the full step-by-step, I'll leave a link to their video down below and their channel down below as well. And I highly recommend you check them out. So yeah, so just to quickly kind of go through it, to make this hair generator, it's just made from like a scratches generator, that I have the like the spline segments like arranged. Oops, let's see which way it is. Like you see here, like if I pull this you know, slider here, it kind of like makes it like a lot like more scratchy and tangled. Then I have like the transform 2D, directional warp, a Perlin noise, and then I have it all plugged into this output, which is my hair generator. Okay, so pop over into our material here, and I'm just gonna grab my hair generator. Oops, wrong one. Grab my hair generator, and I'm just gonna drop it into my project. All right, so first thing, I'm gonna grab a transform, and I'm just gonna plug in my hair generator. So I'm gonna grab a height blend. And I'm going to plug the hair generator into the height top. And then the transformation 2D is going to be plugged into the height bottom. Then I'm going to grab a directional blur. And the input is going to be this blend height. And so for the directional blur, I probably just want to have it not too high. Just like a few points, just enough to kind of like soften it a little bit. Like that. So like 0.24. And then I can also like change the angle as well, depending on like where I want that blur to be going. And I think I want it to be going vertically, like that. Okay. So from there, what I could do is I can grab my transform 2D. Oops. There we go. double click on my directional blur, and I can just kind of pull the transform just so it's like kind of side by side. Or actually, I'm going to pull it this way a little bit. All right. And so for our hair generator, we can use these sliders here to kind of determine like the shape and the flow and like how much hair wave and movement, I guess, is going to be like in each strand of hair. So for our hair amount here, you can just slide it backward. All the way back, it's just going to give you like one strand of hair. And then if you go all the way forward, it's going to give you, I guess, 512 strands of hair. Then the hair distortion is going to kind of make it like more scratchy and tangled. And then if you have it all the way set to 0, it's going to make it a lot smoother. I probably want mine to be around like 0.2. I don't want it to be perfectly straight, but I also don't want it to be too like crazy and messy either. Then for hair density, I have it at 0.05. If I pull it all the way here to 0.1, it's going to make it, it's going to have like the ends be a lot more tapered, and it's going to be a lot more of kind of just like a lock of hair, I guess. And then if I pull it, all the way out, to 1, then it's going to be just like a full-on hair, pattern. So I want, because I'm going to have a few of these overlapping and they're going to be kind of like flowing, I guess like tendrils of hair that will be like overlaid on top. I'm going to want this to be probably, I think actually let's see how 0.6 works. Then here I have my hair thickness, which again is just going to like make the actual hair itself, it's going to determine just like how thick that hair is. If I have it pulled all the way to 1, it's going to be thinner. And then if I have it all the way to, pulled all the way to 0, then it's going to be, thicker. So I'm probably going to want it to be, I'm going to leave it at 0.16. Now here for the hair wave intensity, I believe that's where I had the Perlin noise plugged in. So that's going to determine, I guess, like how straight or how wavy the hair is going to be. So all the way at 0, I have like some like bored straight hair. And then pulled up to 64, there's going to be a much stronger wave. Now here where like I guess because of the Perlin noise, it's kind of pulling the actual hair upwards the more I kind of warp it. So if that happens, it might be good to like grab like another, you can either grab another transform 2D and then just like, or actually, I'm not sure if that would help. Let's see. Oh yeah, no, that works. Yeah, then you can just like pull it back downwards and center. Or you can also kind of just adjust it in the hair generator itself. So I have like an X and a Y hair offset. So if you're finding that like it's kind of getting warped or like the hair is getting kind of pulled off the edge like that, you can just use the hair generator. The only thing is like if you really like the way the hair is like the wave of it, using the hair offset here in the hair generator is going to kind of like affect that wave. So if that's the case, then yeah, then you can just go in with the transform and then just adjust it afterwards. But I don't really particularly care, so I'm just going to use the hair offset here. Then let's see, so we have the hair wave intensity. Then I have the hair wave, which will kind of like kind of allow me to choose like what angle I want the hair to be kind of like waved towards, I guess. And where did I have it at the beginning? Oops. I kind of liked where it was before. So just having it slightly at like, pointing at 118 degrees, I guess, works for me. And I'm going to make a few of these. So they're going to be like all like slightly different. But for this one, I think that works. Then I kind of have like, for like the actual hair wave, there's a few different sliders. that'll determine that. So I also have like hair wave amount, which will like, you know, this one goes up pretty high. If you pull it all the way up to 64, then it's like, you know, it's not really actually resembling hair anymore. So obviously you're not really going to need to pull it up that high, but if you pull it up, you know, just like a little bit, you're going to get like, you know, some more like intense hair wave curls. Had that at 10. No, I didn't want that at 10. Yeah, I have it at 2. So I think that's fine for me. Then hair wave direction is also, again, it's going to kind of like be like a secondary, I guess, slider for the hair wave. So again, it's just going to kind of like change the disorder of it. So I think I'm going to leave this at like 0.23. I think that's good. Then the fade length is going to determine how strong those edges are. So if I have it turned all the way up, then you can see there's like a very hard edge. They're turned all the way down. There's a very like hard edge to those hair strands. God, I can't talk. Hair strands. Then all the way up at 1, it's going to be a lot more of like a smooth kind of gradient. So I want mine to be all the way up because I'm going to want it to blend in as much as I possibly can with the rest of the material. So I'm just going to leave it at 1. And then the strand thickness doesn't actually do anything. I'm not really sure why. My thinking was that it should be making these hair strands thicker. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't do anything. So yeah, don't worry about that one. So this is pretty much what I'm going to be working with for my first like hair lock thing. So now I'm going to grab my transformation 2D and I'm just going to pull it over slightly on the X axis, and I'm going to just rotate it a little bit, I think. Pull it up. And actually, I think maybe I want a little bit more of a hair taper. So I'm going to pull the hair density down to 0.2. And I think I'll pull maybe the thickness. Let's see. This a little bit. Let up. I'm going to take my hair generator and I'm going to take the Y and pull it down just so it's centered. Okay, then I'm going to grab my height blend, and this I'm going to use to kind of control these two like strands of hair. So the height offset is going to, depending on which way I pull it, it's going to, you know, it's just going to like lighten or darken one of these layers, and I could just use that to adjust it, you know, however I like. So I'm just going to pull the height offset to about 0.75 for that top strand of hair there. And for the contrast, I think I might leave it at 1. Yeah, and then I'm just gonna leave the opacity at 1. Mode, I'm gonna keep that at balanced height, contrast at 1. Yeah, and then the height offset at 0.75. Okay, cool. So now I'm just gonna make probably 2 more of these that are just like slightly different that I'll then be able to use or grab. I'll then be able to kind of like make like a pattern with using the tile sampler. But first thing, I'm just gonna label these just so I know, you know, which one's which. So I'm gonna add comment here. I'm going to call this hair gen 1. Add comment. What did I call the other ones? 2D. 2D 1. All right, height blend. Add comment. Oops. H. Blur 1. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to create a few more of these, and then I'm going to grab a tile sampler, and I'm going to plug them all in. Okay, so that we'll do that for now. And I think I might go in and add a few more of like variations of this hair. Some of them I'll have like, you know, just to have like a few strands here and there. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with these three. If I add any more, then I'm gonna use a second like tile sampler. So, okay, so first tile sampler. So So for pattern, I'm just going to select pattern input. And then I'm also going to, for my pattern input number, I'm going to turn this up to 3. So I can take this first directional blur and plug it into 1. Take this second, plug it into 2. And I can take this third and plug it into 3. So there we go. Got a whole bunch of little strands of hair. But this is too many and they're too orderly. It looks weird. So I'm going to take my X amount and I'm going to turn it down to, probably just going to do 3 by 3. Maybe even 3 by 2. Yeah, I think 3 by 2. And so for my size, since they're a little stretched out, I might take my size X. Oh no. And just turn it up a little bit just to add that volume back in. And then for my scale, I'm just going to turn it up to about 2.22, I guess. Probably want it a little bit higher, but yeah, I'll put it at 2.75. And I'm going to have to go back and just like readjust these as I kind of like, you know, just figure out how I want to lay this out. But for now, I'll leave that at 2.75. Scale random, I'll probably come back and use. But first, I want my offset. So I'm going to push the offset a little bit to like 0.1 or so. And then my position random is going to probably be the most important, my most, I guess, like most adjusted perimeter that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to play with these a little bit to see kind of like how I want it to be laid out. Actually, no, this is what's important. Most important is now I'm going to want to layer, create a blend. This is just going to be a temporary blend for now because I just want to see how this hair and like, you know, I just want to kind of like, I guess, yeah, I just want to work on the layout. I just want to see like how it's going to look, where the teeth are, where the hair is, and where I think it's going to, I guess, like just like look best overall. So I'll just plug the tile sampler with my hair. I'm going to plug into the foreground, and then the teeth I'm going to be plugging into the background. And for my blending mode, I'm probably just going to set it to max lighten for now. Again, this is just, actually, how is add? It's about the same. Yeah, max lighten. Or no, wait, I don't want those teeth. I want this one. So my final blend node that I have plugged into my ambient occlusion, that's what I'm actually going to plug into my background, because I want to be able to see the hair, the background hair as well. Oops. There we go. Actually, how is... No. Yeah, max lighten, I think, gives me the best idea. And I do notice I have this, like, kind of, like, darker wave here with the shadows. So I think I kind of want to, like, work around that and use that, because I think that's going to make, create, like, kind of a nice, like, part in the hair. So as I kind of arrange this top layer of hair, if I arrange it around this kind of darker layer, it'll look just like, I think, a lot more natural if I just pretend this is like where the hair naturally parts. So let's see. So I can also use my global offset to kind of like pull it that way. No, I'll leave it there for now. And I actually think I want this hair to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to turn the scale up to about, 0.4, 0.33, 0.4. I can even use the scale random a little bit. And you can use the offset type as well, which will kind of like determine, because you have your position random here, which kind of like just like pulls your hair in all sorts of directions and just kind of like randomly lays it out for you. Then you have your offset here, which will pull like parts of the hair depending on like where, if you're like laying on the X or Y axis. And the offset type, if you have it like whichever one it's set to, kind of determines what direction that offset is going to be pulled to, and like which, like I guess like which hair parts, I don't know what you call them, will be like arranged. I'm not sure if that made any sense, but sorry, it's pretty early in the morning for me. Alright, so height offset. I'm actually going to pull the X even more. There we go. Something like that. And then I think I like it like that. And there's a good chance I'll probably even go in and like just kind of like strategically lay out some more like strands of hair without the tile sampler, because the tile sampler is going to do a pretty good job of like distributing like the bulk of what I want, but I'm probably going to want to go in just like with my own like artistic eye and be like, you know what, like you probably use another hair strand here, which the tile sampler like didn't lay it out there, so I'll just like kind of like just lay out a few more as I see fit, or wherever I think they'll look best. So yeah, so if like the position, and if you're finding that like the tile sampler isn't like laying it out like absolutely perfectly, like it's not really a huge deal. You could just go in and just add like a few more as you need them, and it will be the same case for the teeth. Like the tile sampler is gonna like it'll do like a good job of laying out for the most part like the bulk of what I want, but chances are I'm gonna have to go in and I'm gonna have to like mask a few out, because it'll have one in a place that I don't like, and then I'll go in with like another transform 2D and just like blend a new one to wherever I feel like it would look good to have an extra one. So I'm gonna actually so I'm gonna start working in between these two tile samplers now, with the teeth and with the hair, and just kind of determine whichever layout I think looks best. Actually, I'll keep my blend node here close by so I can like go back and click it so I can see how things are looking. Okay, so tile sampler. I'm gonna go play with these teeth a little bit and see, actually first I'm gonna double click, bring this up, bring it here so it's a good distance between the two. Okay, yeah. I didn't like how this one hair strand was kind of like moving in the opposite direction as the other ones. It was kind of creating, I don't know, kind of like a weird mirror type effect. So I just went in behind the Height Blend 3 and I just added in another Transform 2D and I just flipped or I hit the horizontal mirror. So actually, I'm going to name this, add comment, I'm going to call this 2D4. Okay, and I'm going to keep playing around with these a little bit. I still don't have them quite at where I want, and this step usually like kind of takes the longest time, but it's also kind of the most fun because you kind of get to like decide like aesthetically what you think looks best. But yeah, it could definitely end up taking the longest. So now from here, I'm kind of getting a better idea for how I think the layout is going to be. I think I want to add a few more teeth. Actually, let me see if I can just pull these down. I kind of want to avoid having any teeth being kind of tiling along the bottom here, because I'm thinking I might want to come back to this in the future and create a trim. So if I do that, then it'll be much easier if I don't have any teeth at the bottom. So I'm just going to adjust the global offset. Oops, wrong one. And just pull it down just a little bit. Great. Just so there's nothing showing up on the bottom here. So there's still just a little bit. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Okay, I think that's good. So I think I'm going to want to add in a few more. I think maybe like I'll maybe have like a tooth here, maybe one coming out here from behind, like from behind where these hair, like hair, or where the hair is flowing. And I think I'm gonna kind of want to stick to wherever like the shadow naturally is. I'm gonna want to just like line them along that, because I think it's just gonna make it's just gonna look a lot more natural. So actually, first thing, my 2D4 up there. Did I end up? Is this actually being used? No, it's not. So I'm just going to get rid of this Save Transform Grayscale because I'm not using it. So I'll pull these together. And just highlight them. Add frame. And I'm just going to name this top hair. All right, so now I'm going to start laying in some teeth manually. So to do that, I'm going to go back up to my teeth section. And I'm just going to select all of these. I'm going to go Control C and Control V, because I think I'll want to use all of these at least one more time. And then I'm going to grab a blend, a few blends. And I'm just going to take my first 2D and my second 2D. I'm going to call these, I'm going to set these to add. And I'm going to do the same thing with this first 2D, second 2D. And I'm going to call these add. Not call them, I'm going to set them to add. And you know what? I'm going to add some labels for these as well. Will I? Is that necessary? I don't know. I'll leave it for now. If I start getting confused, I'll add some labels for them. Okay, then I'm going to grab one more blend. Well, actually, no. I think I want to do these one at a time because it's going to become a little too much. So I'm just going to start with this first tooth here, and I'm going to plug that into the foreground. And then I'm going to take my tile sampler, and I'm just going to plug that into the background. And I have that set to add. Great, so it's this little tooth here. And actually, I'm just going to hit shift, right click, and then just going to drag all of those connections into this new blend. So I can actually see it on my on my material. So actually, I'm going to double click this this blend here. And this one, right click that one there. And I'm just gonna move it, see where I like it. Alright, then I'm going to do the same thing with this, this next transform 2D. How am I going to do this? Okay, so I'm going to plug this second into the top. How can I do this while using as few blends as possible? Oh, I know. I'll go here, here, set this blend mode to add, and then I'm going to plug this new blend node into the back or the foreground of the old blend node. There we go. So now I have this new transform that I can move around. And now, next one. So I already have these two plugged into this blend, so I'm just going to use that. I guess I'll have to do one more blend here. And plug these into the top, this one into the bottom. And I'll plug this new blend into the foreground. Alright, so now just going to, whoops, where's my, there we are. And I'm just going to play around with these two transforms, and I'm just going to lay them out. Okay, so we'll see how that does. Now I'm going to go back to my top hair. I'm just going to copy each of these directional blurs. And I'm just going to go Control C and Control V. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with blending these new teeth in. So I'm just going to grab a new blend. Actually, you know what? Each of these are going to have their own 2D as well, because I'm going to like move them around. So grab a few more transform 2Ds and plug each one of these directional blurs into it. There we go. Just going to plug this first transform 2D into the foreground and take the tile sampler and plug that into the background. And then I'm just going to shift, grab the output, and plug that into the blend. And I'm going to take this blend and I'm going to set it to max lighten. Now with my my blend here selected, and then I'll click once on my 2D transform, and I'm just going to move this new hair strand around and just see where I think it looks best, or where I think I could use one. I feel like I could use one maybe right here, possibly. So I'm just gonna rotate that. Maybe even scale it up a bit. Okay, now I'm gonna grab another blend, plug this old 2D into the bottom, this new transform into the top, change the blending mode to add, and then I'm gonna take this blend, new blend, and I'm gonna plug it into the top of our new blend here. Okay, and next one, take a blend node, plug this one into the background, just transform into the foreground. And then, oops, set this to add. And then take this output and plug it into the top of this blend here. And if you're finding that this tiling here is kind of just like interfering too much, you can also go up in your transform 2D, go up to your tiling mode. If you see you see this little like blue icon thing, if you just click it and select absolute from the drop down, then in tiling mode under H and V tiling, set it to no tiling. That'll like get rid of that like extra, you know, hair or whatever it is that you don't want to tile. Okay, so still not quite done though. I do want to add like a few more just like strands of hair. So to do that, I'm going to grab another hair generator. And for this one, I'm going to turn the hair density up a bit. And I'll probably have the hair amount to about 106. So I have just like a few hair strands here. And I still want to have some hair wave. But I think I want it to be going in the other direction, like that. And then I'm going to move the hair offset down just a little bit, like that. For the hair distortion, I'm going to keep it at 0.01. Now for this, I am going to grab another tile sampler. So, let's see. Tile sampler. And just change this to, for pattern, just change to pattern input and plug my hair generator in there. And I'm going to want to make it, oops, where are we? So for X and Y amount, I probably just want maybe 2 and 1. And I'm going to set the offset like that. And I'm just going to adjust the scale for the on the y-axis. I'm just going to turn it up a bit just to kind of give it some of its length back. And turn it up a bit. Like that. Set the scale up to about 1.14. Let's see, position random. Okay, now I'm going to set the, or actually no, I'm going to do the same setup that I have here for these hairs as well. So I'm going to grab a 2D and a height blend. There you are. Plug the hair into the 2D transform. Then plug the transform 2D into the bottom height. And the hair generator into the top height. And then I can just move this a little bit. Maybe rotate it like that. There we go. Pull the hair offset a little bit on the what's it? On the x-axis. Axis. I don't know why that word is so hard for me to say. All right, height blend. Then I'm just going to adjust the offset a bit. Actually, I think I want. Yeah, I want it to be like that. There we go. Then I'm going to grab directional blur. I'm just going to take the same one and plug the height blend into the top. Yeah, just leave that the way it is. And then I'm going to grab another transformation 2D because I think I want to rotate it just a little bit like that. Hopefully that doesn't screw up my tiling too much. And plug that in. Okay. See if I do a scale random. From here, I'm going to take this tile sampler and I'm going to plug it into the, let's do do the foreground and see. And then I'm going to take this blend here with our other hair, plug that into the background, and I'm going to set that to max lighten. And I think I want to switch these. So I'm going to put the this tile sampler here with the strands of hair. I'm going to put that on the bottom, and then I'm going to have this hair on top. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks better. And let's see. I feel like this blur. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. Okay. So now I'm going to. So I have that plugged into my new blend, and I'm just going to take this new blend, and I'm going to plug it into this one here that's plugged into my AO. Okay, it's pretty subtle, so we can probably turn it up a little bit, and also just adjust it. I think I might want to have this hair, these strands, maybe covering this area or over here. Well, let's see. Let's play around with it a bit. I might also go back up here to this tile sampler and adjust the color random. Just see how that does, because I'm finding this is all looking like these are all like exactly the same like value, so it's just looking a little like, I don't know, a little too consistent, I guess. So I'm just gonna like switch the color random up to 0.37 just to add a little bit of variety there. I think. Oops. Yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so this is what we're working with here. Okay. And I might go back to this levels 1 from our original base hair, and I feel like there's maybe a little more contrast in these lights and darks than I want. So I might take this bottom arrow and just slide it a tiny bit over to the right. Let's see. Maybe. That's a little too washed out. Okay. Okay, I think that's a bit better. So now I think I'm going to want to add a little bit more definition to like where the hair here is growing out from the gums. So I'm going to add a few more nodes to this blending section here. So the first one is going to be, I'm just going to grab a levels, and I'm going to name this one here comment. I'm going to call this one levels 4. That on top. See if I can find a good place to put these. Okay, I guess I'll stick it right here. Okay, so for the input, it's going to be this bevel from the gums, and I'm just gonna stick that there. I'll pull that up a bit so I can see. And I'm just gonna grab this mid-tone gray arrow, and I'm just gonna pull it to about to the right to about there. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm gonna grab a blend, and I'm gonna name this one Blend 6. So for the foreground here, I'm going to use this non-uniform directional warp from our base hair warp. Oops. And I'm just going to plug that into the foreground. Oops. Into the foreground. There we go. And the background is going to be this levels 4 that we just did. Just plug that in there. And I'm going to set the blending mode to add linear. And now I'm going to grab a histogram scan. And I'm just going to plug the blend 6 into the input. I'm going to set the position down here to 5.53. And I'm going to turn the contrast up to about 0.8, maybe 0.84. Yeah. Then I'm going to grab another blend. And for the foreground, I'm just going to plug in this histogram scan. And for the background, I'm going to plug in this blend 2. Pull these back a little bit. And I'm going to name this Blend 7. Oh my god, BLND 7. There we go. And for this blend 7, I'm going to set, down, I'm just going to set the blending mode to multiply. There we go. And then I'm going to plug the output into the background of blend 5. Let's see. Plug it back in. Yeah. Okay, that helped a little bit. Okay, great. Sort of an abrupt ending there. This is getting really, really long. I'm gonna have to cut this into a few parts, most likely 3. Good God, I hope no more than that. If you're actually following along with this, I am very impressed. In the next one, I'm going to go over setting up the ambient occlusion, normal, height, and maybe metallic, possibly. We'll see how long it ends up being. But we'll get our material closer to looking like this, what I have here. Then in part 3, I'm going to go over the roughness, base color, and then do some fine tuning and adjustments wherever I need them. It's weird, I've made this material like 3 or 4 times now, and every time it's a little bit different. It needs its own like unique little alterations. So if you've been following along and you have any questions, or something's not working, or you just want to yell about the state of the world, feel free to comment down below and I'll do my best to help you out, or to just console you, or whatever. Again, just a reminder that I'll have all the resources here needed to make this available from the link down below. If you want to see how I made these resources, I'll drop a link to my teeth generator tutorial, as well as UIW 3D animation and game design, if you want to see how the hair generator was made. And yeah, hopefully the next ones won't be too long. Again, good God, I hope it doesn't end up being more than 3 parts. I don't know why these are so long. I don't know if I'm just like lollygagging or what, but yeah, I'm gonna do my best to condense these a little bit more in the future. But yeah, for now, thanks for sticking around if you have been. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!